What was your, so I guess your first job in music would have been at Eventide, but
Yeah,
what about first, let's say, studio experience?
Well, I was in college, in Brooklyn College for a year and a half, and I decided to bail on that because I really wasn't psyched on it. And, thanks, Herb. God damn it, it's got too much half and half! No, perfect, thank you. So I guess, yeah, in '79 I left college and I started as an intern at record plant in New York. And that was it. I mean, literally, I went from Eventide, I went from college, started at the record plant, and interned for like 2 years, like learned, and then assisted for like 3 years. Right. And then became an engineer like by '84, I guess it was. I started engineering.
That's when you first started doing your own gigs?
Yeah.
As a house engineer?
Yeah. Because back then it was like, you know, 4 rooms or old house engineers. There were way more house engineers than there were freelance guys. Like literally when you got the schedule every week, and I still have nightmares about the schedule, the record plant schedule. Like every now and then I'll wake up like, holy shit, I'm on the schedule. For like a jingle or something fucked up like that. But literally, like you get the schedule for the, like Monday, it would come out and it would list all the staff people. And it would list all the staff engineers and then all the assistants, and somewhere down the line your name was there. Right. But yeah, there were definitely like 6 or 7 staff engineers. And then as I think the early '80s started, you know, kind of ramping up, people started doing more of the freelance thing. People who got more popular just started going away and doing shit. Right. You know, guys like Dave Thoner and Jay Messina would all, you know, end up going.
Got popular enough to start going elsewhere.
Yeah, going elsewhere. But they still maintained the staff thing, you know. So.
Oh, Stan still would come back.
Yeah, they would come back. They did, but you know, even if like I remember Dave Thoner did that John Cougar record, and he was still staff engineer. And they recorded it in Indiana somewhere in this fucking house in the middle of the summer, like a miserable experience from the stories I heard. But then they mixed it at the record plant. So I think the staff guys would always come back and do stuff.
They obviously knew the room so well, so yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was their home.
Was there anyone like in particular that you would consider to be a mentor, or a mentor? Yeah. Also, anyone that
I describe it as the guy who I stole the most shit from. Right. Is like this guy Bill Whitman, who did like the Cyndi Lauper records.
He was a staff guy there? He
was not. He was one of the few outside engineers who actually worked at the record plant. He worked there a lot. So I think the first record I did with him, I forget the singer guy's name for Columbia, but the second record I did with him was the Cyndi Lauper record. And, you know, he did the whole complex on the stereo bus, like literally from, I think it was maybe '83 or something. That was the first time I'd ever figured out what a complex was. Right. Heard it on the stereo bus and like really just got used to that sound, and I never let go of that one. Right. I mean, it's been on my stereo bus for over 25 years. Yeah. Right. I mean, I think every now and then I don't have it, or it's not plugged in, and shit just sounds weird to me. That happened with the Sonic Youth the first week in the tracking, where we were plugging everything in, and we didn't have really the complex together, so it wasn't on the bus, and I took rough mixes home from that weekend. It was like totally bummed. What's wrong with this? Yeah, this doesn't sound very good. And then the next weekend we worked and we put it in, like, I was like, oh, these roughs sound great. It was like this, so stupid. But yeah, him, like, I got a lot of my miking technique from him. Yeah. I got a lot of my jokes from him. Right. And seriously, I totally copped like the most of his stuff. Like, he was actually a good mentor dude. Yeah, really tough. He did this really horrible thing to me a bunch, that when I would assist, you know, back in the old days of assisting, the assistant would run the tape machine because there weren't really remotes, on the console. And even though the machines were in the same room, you know, I would still run them. But he used to do this really messed up thing to me, where as I'd punch in, he would like solo the snare. And so then I'd punch and like all the music would go away except for like the snare beat. And you'd be like, what? And then he'd just be laughing. You know what I mean?
Right. But when did you make the leap to considering yourself a producer as well? Getting hired on to, or someone else considering that you were a producer?
I think I actually started considering myself a producer like 3 years ago. I think, you know, when, but you know, it was a weird kind of trajectory where, you know, I happened to meet an A&R guy at Columbia who wanted to sign Dinosaur Jr. Don Fleming was in the band, Jay was in the band, obviously. I met them, got along good, got along well with them. They didn't sign to Columbia, but they still knew me, and eventually I started engineering for both of them. Right. So I did a Screaming Trees record with Don. I engineered for him, and I did the Where You've Been album with Dino, and those records did really well.
Right.
At that moment, they came out around the same time, and I think the word got around just that I was working on them, and I started getting more calls for engineering. But I think at a certain point, other people looked at the guys I was working with and realized that maybe I was doing a little more than just engineering.
Right.
You know, because obviously, my role was just larger.
Yeah.
So I started getting kind of low-level production credits.
Right.
You know, and I kind of did not really know that much of what I was doing on a production thing. I did kind of, but I just didn't have maybe my chops together.
But you were just doing what you do.
Yeah, but I was actually trying to produce too. You know what I mean? I knew what the producer would do, so I was trying to do it. I just don't think I did it pretty kind of well the first, few records. Like, like the first 8 years of producing. until about an hour ago. So yeah, but that's how it started. I mean, it literally. It just, A&R guys would just be like, well, we know you kind of make those records, you're the guy that's making those records.
So it was actually...
Right or wrong, you know what I mean? I'm not saying I did, but
Absolutely, but it was more so someone else recognizing that in what you were doing, as opposed to you sitting down at the table before you even started and saying, hey, I'm going to work out a contract that includes the producer.
No, I just started getting offered gigs as a producer.
Right.
And I, like I said, I took them, and kind of like, even like with engineering, obviously, when you first become an engineer, you learn from your mistakes, Sure. I definitely have recorded some bad records in the early 90s, bad sounding records, you know what I mean, which I don't think really are very good sounding, but you hopefully get better at what you do as you do, and you kind of learn, putting the mic facing away from the speaker cone, not a good idea. That didn't work so well on that record.
Creative, but not
right.
maybe the best.